Hello, this is Krista here again today. And today I want to talk about safety and narcissism again. For a lot of us that have been through abusive relationships with the cluster B type of guy, and that's basically any kind of abusive relationship that you're going to be in. There is a new name for these types of people, and that is narcissism, basically. There's different kinds of people like this. It can go up into one step up from narcissism is psychopath. The next step up is sociopath. There's also antisocial, histrionic, and a bunch of other ones, borderline personality, and to name quite a few of them there. And they all fall into a type and cluster, and it's called the cluster B. These are cluster B type personality people with personality disorders. I'm talking about extreme cases here where it is harmful to be in that relationship for any given amount of time. I know this because that has been my experience with all my past relationships, and I have been through quite a number of them. I'm 42 years old, and usually we get into these relationships because usually one of our own parents was a narcissistic type of individual. It does not matter if that person is overtly narcissistic, where they are going to be calling you names and putting you down and treating you like poop just verbally, or if it's more passively done, where they do it in much subtler forms, where they don't use violence, but they're destructive in more subtle ways, and I will get into that in a different video. But where they can control you in much more subtle ways and keep you under their control. This video, I just want this one to be about safety. It kept coming to my mind when I thought about what my topic of choice is going to be this morning about this. And I think that this is such an important one because they say that in the beginning, after you start learning about what type of person that you're with, and that they're actually dangerous, but you probably have learned that already. And if you're ready to get out of it, you need to know that the first thing to do is to go, to contact, to get away from that person before they hurt you even more. And they can hurt you on such extreme levels, you know. I mean, not only can they hurt you physically, but they can also hurt you mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and to the point where there is nothing left of you, like your self-esteem is just down in the gutter, your identity is completely gone, and you really don't have a sense of self anymore, or any idea of what you should do, and they will keep you in that place until you learn otherwise. So yes, this has been my state for a long time now. But this past year and a half, I got into just another really nasty relationship again, where this man, again, for the second time in my life, I was put on drugs and just treated really awfully and nastily. And, they just kept me in that trauma bondage state where it's really hard to leave. A lot of times, these types of people, even if they are extremely nasty to you, it is just still so hard to get away. In my last video, I talked about being addicted to them, not being able to leave. But this video is going to focus more on safety measures to take when when you are about to leave or thinking about leaving. This is going to give you some ideas. Okay. So I know that it can be terrifying. It can be extremely terrifying to leave because that narcissist has put you in a place for a long time that you have nowhere else to go. He's probably shut off all your friends and your family and everyone close to you, and probably didn't like you joining outside things like social groups and so forth of any kinds, and didn't like you going out at all. And then you would, because they don't like any outside sources to interfere because they want to keep you all to themselves. So then you will have less thoughts about leaving and standing up for yourself. That is another control tactic of theirs. And it can be very scary when you are, you're all alone at home, or stuck with this person all the time. And they start telling you horrible things about yourself and just keeping you down, 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 down. And you're looking at the outside world feeling like you want to escape, or, like, hey, there's got to be something else. This sucks, If you finally come to that place where you've had enough, the first thing to do is to start educating yourself. Get on YouTube if you can. If you can't, get some books. Order some books online. There's so many abuse books out there that is going to help you get through and understand. And I think one of the main things to do is to stop being so afraid of your narcissist. I think that is like one of the main first steps, is to really, you're going to have to come out of that dreaded fear that is keeping you in like an immobile state. This is like the freeze state. This is one of the states of CPTSD, which I've taught in some of my videos already. And it can be extremely bad, I mean, you might get to the point where you're so scared just in that CPTSD mode that even when you go out in public, you're not going to like being out in public, and it's going to scare you, I mean, basically you're in a scared state all the time. And any little false move that you make, you're walking on eggshells, they're going to get you again and just keep you down there. Unfortunately, they're going to keep you down in that spot until you decide to start standing up for yourself. And it's pretty easy and simple once you start learning how, just in little itsy bitsy steps is all it takes. And you can do it all secretly. I mean, you're not going to share this information with your narc. You're going to be more secretive about it, and just start to understand it and start loosening that grip and that fear that he or she has on you. And so, it is so important to have safety. I mean, this is basically one of the first things that I had to learn for myself, because I knew when a lot of times when you do start saying, well, I just don't think it's going to work anymore, and I don't think I want to have this relationship anymore, they're going to get mad. I know in this last one, the last place that I lived, I started talking like that because he was getting really bad. And taking my cars without asking, just treating me really badly. And so, it came to a point where it was one of my dad's rental apartments, and he was staying with me, and we started fighting about the rent, and all of a sudden he decides that he doesn't want to help me pay rent, and it was a fight every time I asked him for half of the rent money. And just a bunch of stuff accumulating, when that mask starts to fall off after the love bombing stage. And I knew that it wasn't going to work with him, and I told him to leave. And I told him to find somewhere else to go. And then he comes back and he starts pounding on the door and pounding on the door and pounding and pounding, and I wouldn't let him in. I had the door locked. And all of a sudden, what do you know? What do a lot of malignant narcissists do? They get violent. They hit, they break things. So he basically kicked the doorknob off and came into the house and was all upset about it. And I was just kind of in a mobilized state. I remember laying in bed and I couldn't move and I couldn't even, because this man had just broken into my apartment, you know, and it was just like so against the law, number one, and just all this stuff, you know, and it just, you know, they do that. They keep you in this immobilized fear state. And unfortunately, I was kind of used to him doing these types of things here and there in the past, just, you know, just bombarding in and just hitting walls and just yelling at me and threatening me and just keeping me in this fear, stuck fear, or, you know. So, you know, when you have that all your life in different relationships, it's really good to have an understanding that there is a certain type of person that does this. You know, it's not just like any old Joe. And they're doing it for a reason, and it's always the same reason. The more I learn about it, the more kind of pitiful that I see it as. That yeah, and the power is that when you can get away from these people and stay away from them, that's a real power too, a power to the self. You know, giving you a real, because that's what you're missing, is a sense of safety anymore, because you're just not getting that. You don't get that. And so it's a really good feeling, although you have to get used to it though, you know, when you're coming out of it. And, you know, I mean, you're going to miss that person, but you have to keep thinking to yourself all of the different things that they've ever done to hurt you and to scare you and that were just outlandish. You know, that helps to think about all that stuff a little bit. But this safety, excuse me, problems with my phone. Safety does come first, you know. You have to start stabilizing, and when you want to get better and heal yourself and learn about how to stand up to these types of people to have a happier, more fulfilling life for yourself, you know, safety comes first, like Safety Pop says. Yeah, you know, when that is when, after he did that, I remember just thinking, enough is enough. I got to get out of here, you know, because they'd start scaring me pretty bad, and I was tired of it. And even though I knew little about what to do, I knew that through some of the books and things that I had ordered and read, no contact was the main thing to do first, and for our safety. So, you know, I got a PPO, I got a police protection order. Well, the first time I went in there, they said, well, you need to have a list written down of at least three things that he's done to you physically. And so, but, you know, on one of them I did put that he broke down my door and came in after I told him to leave. And that, they use that as one of them, because, I mean, just drastic things that they do, you know. You can write them down and you take them in and you show them, and then they will serve the other person, and that person cannot come near you for the length of time that is, which is usually at least a few months of the police protection order. And so, you know, I moved during that time too. I moved because of some mold issues at the other house and different things. But, you know, ever since then, even though he has come over, you know, quite a bit in the past, after the police protection order, one time he violently, after I threw him out the door, I had to push him out of the door, and he became in the narcissistic rage, and he threw my plant and my door outside of my door in my apartment complex. But, you know, he doesn't really mess with it much because this is a public place and he could get in trouble for hurting it, you know. Just, you know, get as much protection as you can, because these people are dangerous. They're nothing to mess with. And and feeling that sense of safety and letting that continue, you know, for a while. I mean, you get used to it, and then after a while, at first it's scary, you know, when you're alone or whatever. It can be extremely terrifying. But like, I got some pets, you know. I started doing support groups. I joined 2 support group meetings every week, plus I keep educating myself and understanding and gain more power, and then therefore they lose less power. And I can actually feel it happening, you know, that I'm giving them less power, and like these giant, intimidating giants, all of a sudden I start understanding them, and they become these little Peabodys. And it's just like, they did not, that power isn't real. That power that they try to hold over you, it isn't real once you, because knowledge is power. It really is. So, you know, I have so much more of a sense of peace now, and am attaining so much more happiness and things that I want in my life instead of whatever they want and running after whatever they want. Um, thank you. I hope that this helps at all today, and thank you for listening to me sharing my story as well. Have a beautiful one.